All signs show to imminent charges against people at the Trump Organization, while Trump's lawyers have been downplaying the idea that it's serious if the case turns on the benefits issue we've been reporting. One lawyer saying it's all to get back at Donald Trump anyway, and the charges are much ado about nothing. The charges that have been hinted at, though, like tax evasion or even fraud, can be important. And we're joined now for a special look at this with a special expert. We're going to have federal prosecutor John Flannery back with us. But soon, the special guest that I've promised. He is a veteran lawyer who succeeded Ken Starr in one of the biggest legal roles in the nation and also represented then-President Trump at an impeachment trial.
You can now call Kenneth Starr the former independent counsel. His replacement was sworn in today. The new man is Robert Ray, a Starr deputy for the past 6 months.
The House voted to impeach Donald Trump 1 month ago. The trial is now 3 days away. Tonight, we learned the makeup of Trump's defense team. It's back to the Clinton impeachment with former independent counsel Ken Starr and his successor, Robert Ray.
The articles of impeachment, therefore, should be rejected, and the president must be acquitted.
I'm joined now by that very attorney, Robert Ray. Sir, you are what they call a big gun in Republican legal circles. Thanks for being here.
Nice to be with you, as always, Ari.
I'm curious what you think, based at least on the public information we have. How strong does the case look to you against Mr. Weisselberg and possibly against the Trump Organization or part of it?
Well, proceeding against the Trump Organization, of course, takes the benefit of the collective corporate knowledge doctrine. You may be unable, for example, to prove in a criminal case culpable criminal conduct against any individual, but collectively, if the company handed out fringe benefits that were not de minimis to individuals in a form of disguised wages or compensation, you have to pay payroll taxes on that. And from Alan Weisselberg's perspective, if he received, for example, free rent in the Trump Tower, that's income, which has to be reported on his income tax returns, including his New York State income tax return. So I assume that those are the sort of the outline of the charges that at least prosecutors in the DA's office initially have in mind. Now, whether there's more or not, I guess, is open to speculation. But I wouldn't characterize those benefits as de minimis fringe benefits. I mean, I have to think that rent in the Trump Tower, for example, is, on the order of magnitude of multiples of $10,000 a month times 12 in a calendar year. That's not an incidental or de minimis fringe benefit. It's not like tickets to a ball game. That's a substantial amount of income. It may not be substantial to a billionaire, but it nevertheless, to tax authorities, that's a substantial amount of money. And if you didn't pay tax on it, that's a problem.
So if Weisselberg did that, you think that's a strong criminal case against him?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. There's usually not much defense. You sign your own your personal income tax return. If you receive the benefit, I don't think you have a fair argument. Well, I didn't know that I was supposed to pay tax on it. Again, it's not like a small benefit, fringe benefit. That's a substantial fringe benefit that any accountant advising him, or if he did his own tax returns, would tell him is something that you have to report as income.
Very interesting coming from you. And then when you look at trying to make the wider case against part or all of the Trump Organization, some of his current lawyers are saying, well, that's just targeting him politically. We showed some of the reporting about whether that's a very common theory or not. Do you think that's fair game?
It is to some degree. I mean, taking on a corporation with regard to something like that, which is, let's say, if it's limited to just failure to pay payroll taxes on fringe benefits, I think you could make an argument that taxing authorities, their primary interest is in seeing that those taxes are paid with presumably interest and penalties. It is not usually the case that those are the kinds of situations that result in criminal prosecution. I can't say it's never been done, but that would be unusual. And so if that's the case and you're talking about the exercise of discretion, I think it's fair game to argue what the motivation is. I'm just not saying that it's any less serious or any less of a problem, but it's certainly something that, if that's all they have and that's the ticket that prosecutors want to punch, my guess is they're going to be met with a substantial argument by defense lawyers on the other side that, it's cherry picking and it's singling out for prosecution something that ordinarily is not prosecuted. Doesn't change the fact that taxes are still due and owing, but those are not the kinds of cases that are typically brought for criminal prosecution. Individual is a whole nother story. It's also more difficult to prove than it is against a company. Again, taking advantage of collective corporate knowledge, the company is responsible for knowing that these things are paid. Whether any one individual knows that there was an obligation to do so and that fringe benefits were in fact paid and that, it was knowingly income was withheld and payroll taxes were not paid on those benefits, to try to do that against any single individual, including the former president, I think would be very difficult to do, which is one of the reasons why in this area, you tend to see cases against the company, the corporate entity, rather than individuals.
Right. Right. And you're reminding viewers something we've been covering here, which is why prosecutors sometimes do like to go after that corporate angle. Then there's the wider history. You were involved, as mentioned, the impeachment probe, which overlapped with certain issues, but was distinct, of course, from the Mueller grand jury. But I want to put up on the screen just a refresher, because some of the Trump folks are saying, well, if this is all there is, they argue it's nothing. This also could be the beginning. I mean, that case started with Papadopoulos being indicted in July 2017. Easy to forget that it wasn't until October that you had Manafort and Gates, and that was 2017. And it wasn't until 2019, near more the end of the charging period of that probe, that you got to Roger Stone. Do you see, based on the knowledge we have, any kind of long-term calendar here where these supposedly imminent charges would be step one and there would be later charges? Or do you think it's different and unlikely here? What's your view?
Look, it could be the tip of the spear. I don't discount the possibility that, the Trump organization and individuals within the Trump organization should be concerned, as I am sure they are. What goes for public consumption, of course, is a whole other question. But, the runway here is with Cy Vance through the end of this calendar year while he still holds office. I think he aims to come to a conclusion, that is to say a prosecutorial conclusion, before he leaves office. And this may be all there is, but I wouldn't discount the possibility that there may be more. And of course, prosecution is a moving target. The prosecution of Allen Weisselberg, if that's what's coming, obviously I think is being done in order to apply pressure to him to see if there can, what the prospects are for obtaining additional evidence that can be used against, one or more other people. And you don't know, what those efforts will bring. And you're not going to know that until the DA's office actually pulls the trigger and initiates the prosecution, which I guess is what we're speculating about now. But, trying to figure out what this means over the next several weeks or months is anybody's guess. But there's a lot more runway here. And so I think it's certainly a possibility that there will be other charges. Sure.
Yeah. Really fascinating, especially given your background. We've had you before. I hope you'll come back. Robert Ray, thank you, sir.